last video in the series on these DANNER boots. If you've been following my channel, you'll have seen close-up reviews of the Bull Run and the Light, and these are the DANNER Mountain Light. With the series, as I've said before, I haven't featured DANNER boots on the channel before, and I really wanted to look at some of their most iconic styles and get a feel for the brand. I will take one of these boots into long-term review, and it's up to you guys to help me choose which one that will be. So if you can like up the video that features a boot you most want to see in long-term review, that's the one we'll feature on the channel. So the DANNER Mountain Light here is very much a classic sort of hiker silhouette, very sort of retro styled, one-piece upper. So DANNER actually refer to this as the retro one-piece upper, and by design it has got very little seams exposed to the elements, so it's added waterproof and very simple construction. Equally, with a one-piece construction, you're going to have a very or a relatively easy break-in because you don't have the seams to break in. Certainly if you've experienced Red Wing mock toes, for example, the seam running around the edge really does add to the complications of break-in. So I expect these to be a very comfortable boot. As with the Light, they're relatively technical boots. They're Gore-Tex lined, so that's waterproof and breathable. They come with a very nice Cletterlift Vibram lug sole, and these soles, as I said on the Mountain or on the Light boot there, I've tested them with the durometer tester, and they're pretty robust. They're coming in sort of in the high 70s readings, as opposed to the sort of softer wedge soles that you find on the Bull Run, which come around about 57. So these are, by any standard, a very robust sole. So they're going to be good whether you're off-road or on-road, and if you watch my videos you'll know that I'm pretty hard on my boots, so having a sole like this really is quite helpful to me, and for everyone else it will add to a very long life and long-serving boot. Now, with all DANNER boots, they are recraftable, so they've got a welted construction, and you can rebuild the sole below. On these you've got a stitch down welt, as have the other two models, which means the upper has been rolled out to create that sort of welted leather edge there, for which you stitch into the midsole. Really good design for flexibility, waterproofness. It's a classic on hiking boots in Europe. The only thing that I would say, and as I've said on the other videos, is you've got to look after this leather, because if you lose this leather, if you crack it, if you wear away the edges so you can't stitch into it again, it will affect the ability to recraft this boot. If you use a traditional sort of Goodyear welt, where your upper rolls under the boot and you have a extra leather welt stitched in, that whole structure can be replaced, but this is all one part. Yeah, so in terms of fit, these are by far the most generous boot out of the three I've tried on. They are a double E width, but their last is more generous than the Lights, and for me they're a comfortable fit. If you're going to wear thick socks, they're ideal, and I'm sure that's really what this last has been designed for, because they're an outdoors inspired boot. But if you are not intending to go into sort of the outdoors with thick socks, if you're not in a cold country maybe, then I would definitely suggest that you consider going half a size down. Yeah, so let's come in for a few close-ups and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so coming in for some close-ups here, you've got the wonderful Vibram Cletterlift sole with a lug pattern across the whole length of it. Now there is a sort of a heel pad and a forefoot, and there's a nice fiberglass shank in there just to keep your boot rigid, which is really important if you're going to be putting any pressure on this point here. The Vibram is then backed up with a foam midsole which keeps down the light and keeps down the weight, and gives it a little bit more bounce and comfort. And then as you move up, you've got a hard rubber section which is then stitched into the upper here. As I said earlier, this is a stitch down construction, as we've found in all the DANNER boots we've looked at through this series of reviews. That means that the upper is rolled out, so this is actually all one piece. So it's absolutely essential that you look after this. You need to brush out any debris, you make sure it's oiled and doesn't crack in at that seam. But it should be a very robust construction if looked after properly. The upper is a full grain leather with a whole one piece construction. So the tongue bellows, which we'll get into the detail on in a little bit, is all one piece. So there's no seams down this side, no seams across the side, and the only seams you have here is on the sort of heel stay here, which gives it a little bit of constructional sort of structure. Got a little pull tab here, which is sometimes very useful for getting on a boot, although with this construction you could get your foot in very, very easily due to the way you can open the boot up. And then you've got this rather nice sort of traditional hiking style lace to toe system here, with riveted hooks and speed hooks at the top here. Now these are bent metal. On the other boots we had rather nice machined speed hooks, but these are very typical to what you'll find on a hiker, and hold the laces without any doubt that it'll stay in place. Bit of branding on the side there, not for everyone. I know some people are a bit sensitive about visible branding, but I think that looks quite nice. Portland, Oregon, made in the USA. On the inside, which we'll get into a little bit more on the unlaced boot, but we've got a nice padded leather lined collar, padded leather tongue, and the Gore-Tex lining inside. Looking at the unlaced model here, so we can have a good look at the bellows tongue construction. On this model, or this boot particularly, it hasn't been stored very well, so it's slightly sort of misaligned, so that needs breaking in again. These didn't come sort of packed with any newspaper, so a little bit sad that, but you know, it will be fine once you get it on and break it in. But inside the boot, you've got a sort of double bellows construction, which means that you've got an added layer of waterproofing. As I say, there's no seams down here, and this protects the boot from debris, and it also means that you can have a nice soft pliable tongue which isn't going to be damaged with your laces cutting across it. So this is a tough piece of leather providing protection to the soft sort of double bellows construction below. Relatively high bellow up to that point. Obviously this construction doesn't sort of lend itself to any higher sort of bellows, so your waterproofness will diminish after you get over your sort of heel bone, because obviously if your water's going to be up to that level, it can get around the tongue in there. Inside you can see with this lovely sort of big opening which you can get your foot in no problem at all. Your Gore-Tex lined throughout. A little bit nervous about sort of having lined boots sometimes, because once that lining starts to tear up, you've got problems, and certainly you want to look after that Gore-Tex, but you might want to get an insole. These are very, very generously sized and would accept an insole without any problems at all. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of the video. One thing I didn't mention before is that these come with a second set of laces, so red laces again, which I think are really attractive actually and go very well with the sort of outdoors hiking aesthetic for some reason. Just looks great. But they also provide a flat set of laces if you prefer that to the rope laces you see here. Also, I didn't mention the price. Like the lights, these are a premium boot with the features you'd expect to go with that. So high quality, full grain leathers, Gore-Tex linings, handcrafted, all that sort of stuff. But they are £360 in the UK, and that is quite a price. Sort of getting on for £100 more than a Red Wing boot over here. Obviously Red Wing boots aren't built in the same way, they're not as technical, they're very simple construction, but certainly something to consider when you're dropping this amount of money. There's a lot to pick from once you get into those sort of into those sort of budgets. As I say, this is a little bit of an introduction for the channel to the brand of DANNER. I will be taking one of these pairs of boots into long-term review. You tell me what you want, find the video, give it a thumbs up, like it, and the one which gets most likes will be taken into a long-term review. So 6 months, 12 months, a little bit of an update when they're broken in, that sort of stuff, and you'll hopefully get a good feel for how they perform long-term. Okay, well that's about it. If you thought this video was helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't seen my channel before, please check it out. You might share some other common interests. Boots, denim, everyday carry, fountain pens, pen knives, that sort of stuff. I'd love if you subscribed, and I hope this has been helpful, and I'll see you for the next video. Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.